Hi everyone. You know what I love about being an internet reviewer? Everything. Well, the hours are terrible, I don't get paid for doing this, and I'm pretty sure my editor is out to steal my job. But still, I always feel great every time I finish and post my videos to the internet. And yet, every day I have to wonder if my next video will be the one that everybody hates. Maybe it's because I gave a good review to a movie that nobody liked, or a bad review to something that everybody did like. Or maybe my humor just wasn't good that day. Nevertheless, I have a responsibility to produce a new review for every blockbuster I see this summer, no matter how frightened I am that the review might turn out terrible. You know, this reminds me of everybody's favorite Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, who has to wake up every morning knowing that it's only a matter of time before he faces somebody with more power than he can overcome. So I guess he doesn't consider the Lizard to be that much of a threat despite the savage beating he received from said supervillain, who required the efforts of both Gwen Stacy and her father to be taken down. In spite of this, Spider-Man's been my favorite comic book superhero since I first discovered them, and even if today's movie, The Amazing Spider-Man 2, doesn't meet my expectations, that opinion will still stand. Welcome to Short and to the Point, where I review movies in 5 minutes or less, or your money back. Okay then, let's get down to business. Okay, so when the first Amazing Spider-Man came out, I had some issues with it, but I came out liking it in the end overall. The Amazing Spider-Man 2, on the other hand, is not quite as strong, but before I get into that, let's take a look at some of the positives. For one, the acting is still quite good. Andrew Garfield pretty much has Spidey's trademark wit down, though he does have a few hiccups in the dramatic department, and some of his humor can be a little uneven also. And then we have the headstrong Gwen Stacy. I am not exaggerating when I say that there is nobody that can play the character better than Emma Stone. Then there is Dane DeHaan, who plays Harry Osborn. He might have an obvious bad guy look to him, but he does fit this interpretation of the character well. And we also have the talented Sally Fields playing Peter's loving Aunt May. She doesn't seem like she's just in this movie because she exists in the comic books, and she does get a little bit more characterization that actually works with her character. The action is also well handled, with Spider-Man being as swift and agile as ever, and it's probably some of the best web-slinging in the entire franchise. Now, our story picks up sometime after The Amazing Spider-Man, with our hero running late for his own graduation, as he had to stop a theft of plutonium. Now, during the chase sequence, Peter briefly hallucinates seeing Gwen's father, George Stacy, and remembers that he promised him that he would leave Gwen out of his dangerous life. I can't fault him for staying with Gwen, but I like how the promise is still on his mind, and having him imagine seeing George is a good way to illustrate it. Two other plot points from the original movie that get fleshed out more are Richard Parker's research and Norman Osborn. We actually get to see him in this movie, and it turns out that he is inches away from dying, as he was unable to use Dr. Connor's unstable lizard formula to cure his sickness. Before he dies, he informs his son Harry that his disease is hereditary, and it actually starts to affect Harry conveniently after their conversation is over. As such, Harry goes to search for a cure, and learns that Richard Parker's research might hold the key to saving his life. Meanwhile, an accident at Oscorp transforms a man known as Max Dillon, played by Jamie Foxx, into the supervillain known as Electro. Jamie Foxx was able to work with most of his material, but Electro was still the weakest part of the entire movie. To make a long story short, he is just there to give us action sequences and fill up the time. Now this can be handled well as we saw in 2004's Spider-Man 2, but in this movie there is nothing that really makes Electro stand out as a memorable bad guy, because he has little connection to the overall plot, and just barely enough characterization to justify his motivations for fighting Spider-Man. However, to be fair, I will admit that his fight sequences are cool, and these special effects perfectly showcase just how powerful Electro can be. However, everything involving Harry and Oscorp pretty much steals Electro's thunder. It was interesting seeing how corrupt the corporation could get, and we are also introduced to two newcomers, Felicia Hardy and Alistair Smythe, amongst the staff. Unfortunately, they have very little screen time, and it feels like the only reason that they are in this movie was to confirm that yes, they do exist in this universe, which is okay, but it's just teasing the audience. Another strike for this movie is that some of its exposition was a little clunky, and some plot points are set up so early that I kind of forgot about them by the time they were supposed to pay off. Speaking of payoffs, the climax of the movie was pretty rushed in my opinion in a way that reminded me of Spider-Man 3, only it's not quite as bad due to its overall outcome. Now despite all these negative criticisms, I do think that the good parts of the movie are worth sitting through the bad stuff. Some other positive points in the movie are Peter and Gwen's relationship. They are still as adorable as ever, and this movie just makes their relationship stronger. Then there is Peter and Harry. Even though this is the first time we've seen them on screen together, the actors managed to make it seem like the characters have known each other for quite a while, and the conflicts that generate between them serve as good drama. The movie's closing moments were also something that I quite enjoyed, and no, it was not because the movie was over, it was a legitimately good scene. So overall, I find The Amazing Spider-Man 2 to be a giant mixed bag. Like I said, there is a lot to like in it, but you have to sit through a mostly unbalanced story to get to it, due to Electro pushing an already overcrowded story past its limits. I give it 6.5 radioactive spiders out of a possible 10, and I do not recommend it for a theatrical viewing, but I do think you should see it if you are a fan of Spider-Man, just not in theaters. The price of admission isn't worth it. This has been short and to the point, and I review movies in 5 minutes or less, or your money back. Okay, that's one movie down for the summer blockbuster season, and at least 6 more to go. My wallet is going to suffer for this, but still, I have a responsibility to review these movies. It's like Uncle Ben always said,
if you could do good things for other people, you had a moral obligation to do those things. That's what's at stake here. Not choice, responsibility.
That somehow ties into why I have to review these movies. Never mind. I will see you all soon. Okay, hit it, boys.